There's a viral TikToker going around right now asking churches if they would donate money to a starving baby for formula. I'm sure you all have heard of it, but there's something going on about this viral trend that no one's talking about. Let's watch this video and we'll discuss it when it's done.
So this woman is Nikaylee, and she's been doing a social experiment calling churches to test them on whether or not they would help her feed her starving baby. And I've been getting tagged in a lot of her videos or videos about what she's doing. And so I want to talk about what I've seen so far going through these videos. I've seen some videos about her saying she's doing the Lord's work, but yet the people saying this are people who stand for anti-Christian values. Now, the first thing I noticed was her profile, testing your church to see if they would feed a hungry baby. FDT, meaning F Donald Trump, F ICE, Free Palestine, Black Lives Matter, immigrants, pro-choice, Army veteran, lesbian. And at first glance, every single video that she posts is doing this. But to get a better idea of who she is, I went back even further. Before she was going viral and getting 100,000 or more views on every video, she was making a lot of content like this: anti-MAGA and anti-conservative views. And so she went from being extremely anti-MAGA to suddenly deciding to test churches. I find that interesting. Who are you to test churches? And are you testing them from a genuine place? How are you choosing which churches you call? Are you showing us all the phone calls? Now, I listened to about 15 of her videos. Even in the videos where they say no, they're not really saying no. A lot of them just tell her straight up, we don't have any formula on hand and we have no way to get that for you. I've heard a couple that said no say we have other food, we just don't have baby food. Then you've heard some churches say, we just don't have the capability right now. All of our money is for our members. Now, I know someone wants to say, if they're a Christian church, then they should be willing to drop everything and buy formula for a baby. However, it should be made clear that whoever's answering the phone, there's no guarantee that they have extra money. Most people working at churches are volunteering. You don't know if that person answering the phone has extra money. You also don't know what the current financial status of that church is. Not all churches are receiving enough money in to pour out. This is why in the last couple years, we've seen a record number of churches closing. And so you can't know it all just by calling someone and saying, hey, my baby's really hungry. Can you buy me formula? You have no idea what the situation of that church is. And this is in no way defending these churches. This is just me approaching this objectively. Some of them did offer to help. She does share those videos. But we don't know if the reason they're able to help is because they're in a better financial position. Again, not all churches are in good financial positions. This is why we're seeing record numbers of churches closing, because the church survives off the donations of its members. If it doesn't have a lot of members, or if its members can't afford to give, the church will struggle. And so I'm not denying that there might have been a church that she called that had the money and refused to help. But what I am saying is we do not have enough information to make that assumption. I also, again, want to emphasize, who are you to test the churches? Indiana University found that nearly half of all churches and other faith institutions help people get enough to eat. And just the last 2 weeks with the whole issue of food stamps, you could read several articles of Christian organizations and Christian churches helping provide food, because those that are capable will do so. You can read secular studies that will tell you that Christians are more likely to give. Religious faith is a central influence on giving. Religious people are much more likely than the non-religious to donate to charitable causes, including secular causes. And they give much more. Based on the available data, Christians are more likely to foster and adopt children. And faith communities provide significant support for families in the foster care system. While other groups also foster, data points to higher rates of involvement among those for whom religion plays a major role in their lives. Faith-motivated individuals support child welfare and other needs in an array of ways, including giving at significantly higher rates to both faith-based and non-religious charities. Faith communities also provide critical material, emotional, and spiritual support to adoptive, foster, kinship, and biological families. More than 40% of congregations offer some form of organized foster and/or adoption support, and many more provide some form of this help organically. BPC's Harris poll confirmed this. People for whom religion plays a major role in life are nearly 50% more likely than those with minimal religious commitments to be familiar with the child welfare system. And you might ask, well, why is it only 50% and not all churches? Aren't you all supposed to be loving and giving? Because again, not all churches are financially positive. There is a reason why so many churches are closing. If the members of the church have less money and therefore they cannot give as much as they normally do, churches don't bring in as much. And so randomly calling up a church, not knowing their financial situation, not knowing the person you're speaking to and what their financial situation is, you can't make a judgment because they don't drop everything to provide you with formula. And again, I would love to know what she's trying to prove in this. Her profile tells me that she's trying to do this for views and to try and have these gotcha moments. But the statistics tell you, charitably, it is Christians who give the most. Charitably, it is Christians that do the most. And even in her phone calls, when people are incapable of helping, they don't disrespect her. They're not rude to her. They just tell her, I'm sorry, I can't help. And again, I'm not defending these churches. There might have been churches that she called that have it and they're not giving. I saw one of her videos where she basically made fun of them for hanging up on her, but they didn't hang up on her when she was asking for help. They hung up on her when she said, I'm just testing you. I would have hung up on you too. So you have me over here worried that a child is in need and really probably upset that I can't help the child. And suddenly you tell me, actually, I was lying to you. I was testing you. Again, she used to make this type of content that got 8 views, 12 views, and 2 views. But now she's getting 300,000 views, 200,000 views, 190,000 views, 1 million views by testing churches. Your profile told me everything I need to know. I do not believe you're doing this from a genuine place. Her goal is to try and make Christians look like hypocrites and bad people who don't actually help. Meanwhile, the statistics that are hosted by secular organizations would tell you the complete opposite. And so while she's doing these phone calls trying to make it look like Christians don't care, it has been Christians stepping up in this time of need when people have not been receiving their SNAP benefits. When natural disasters happen, it has been Christians running full speed to help. When the flooding in North Carolina happened, it was Christian churches running at full speed with materials and food. When the floods happened in Texas, it was Christians running at full speed with materials and food. And so no, I'm not concerned with her tests. God bless and go in peace.
Sorry about the audio getting off on his video towards the end there. I don't really know how that happened, but this woman did reply to this guy's video. So I'm going to read you this response right here. Hers says, right, this is her right here that says, anytime you want to have a conversation, I'm always open. I literally had 300 followers before I started this, so I didn't do it for money or views since I couldn't even make money on TikTok when I started. I also made a video which is pinned that explains my thoughts before I started the experience. You're welcome to ask questions. So let's go to her page. Let's try and find that pinned post.
Okay, so for those of you that actually go to church and donate your hard-earned money, do you actually know what your money goes to when you donate to your church? Because I know some of you, can't really afford much and you give what you can, and that takes money out of your own mouths, maybe. You might give, your last few dollars to church. And I'm curious if that church actually helps your community or not, or if they just pocket your money. So I'm actually going to be testing and seeing if local churches in my area first are willing to help somebody that's in need when they call up and ask for help, or kind of like what the response is in general that they give me. I honestly don't know if they're going to be willing to help somebody in need, or if they're going to be like, no, sorry, we can't help you. And I honestly, my take on it, my personal beliefs, because I don't go to church, is that they're not going to want to help anybody that doesn't specifically want to go to their church or interested in going to their church or doesn't already attend their church. That's my view. That is my personal view. I want to be proven wrong. Okay, I want y'all to know that. I want to be proven wrong. But I am going to test it. And I'm going to call them, and I'm going to call them on the phone with you so you can see what is said and how they respond and if they're willing to help somebody in need. I will be lying and making up stories and scenarios to see if they're willing to help. If you're investing your hard-earned money to give to your church, that church should be giving back to you and your family when you're in need, and it should be giving back to your community with that money, okay? I live in a Bible Belt. I live in Somerset, Kentucky. It's a very, very small town. We probably have 100 churches here. I never see churches come out to help anybody, okay? Never. And I'm about to see that if I call them up personally, if they're willing to help somebody that calls and is in need.
So, a couple things. I go to a church, right? I live in the Bible Belt too. I live in Missouri, and my church gives out food. I'm personally in charge of going out with the outreach team once a month to pass out. We literally go knock on your doors. We're coming to find you, and we give out food to you, right? You don't even have to come to us. We're coming to find you. Not only that, but like even Thanksgiving, we're giving out Thanksgiving baskets. We give out these little brown bags in my church. You fill it up with everything that's on the bag that tells you what each family needs according to the number of people in the family. And we're literally giving out Thanksgiving dinners. Now, I do want to highlight a comment because this church that this person's asking about is in my neck of the woods. Can you try Connection Point Church in Jackson, Missouri? This church is one of the biggest churches in my neck of the woods, right? I would be curious to know what they did. But I don't think that this post right here is from 1031. I don't think that this post was started before she ever started any of these trends. So let's go to her page and look a little bit further. 1031, right? So this one right here,
I am calling your church
is the
to
second
test to
church.
see if
She says is the second church. So let's go and scroll down a little bit and find, let's see, part 27, part 33, part 42. So these are going to be the more recent ones. Let's go down here and see if we can find part 1. Part 1.
Okay, so I'm going to be attempting to call the Somerset.
If she really started this challenge in just 11 days, 12 days, her channel has blown up like this, that's crazy. That's crazy growth in 12 days from just starting this challenge. But hey, I don't know what her heart is. I really don't. These challenges have grown her channel tremendously, and before that she wasn't really getting much views. But I can't say that that's all she's done it for. It does look like, as she said, she doesn't go to church. So I don't know how pure of any intentions that she may have had. I do think that part of her, like she said, she wanted to be proved wrong. But I do think part of her was doing this with the intention of being able to say, ha, I knew that most Christians wouldn't do it. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're not all Christians, so you can't look at this experiment and lump all Christians in together. Most churches want to give out to their community, their church members. So for someone to call off the street, I don't know how many churches would give to that right now. If it's a baby involved, I do think you're going to get more times, more often than not, I think you're going to get somebody that will help you. But at my church, I know that we're going to look out for the members of our congregation first. Not that we won't look out for anyone that doesn't go to the church, because I'm sure if you were to call up there, somebody's going to bless you with some baby food. We've even given out baby food when we go out and pass out donations every month. We just literally give out what we have on hand. Now, I'm not going to say that what she's doing is right or wrong. I do think that it's a little one-sided because we can only hear the calls that she's choosing to post. We don't know how every single call goes, right? So at the end of the day, guys, you can't, take everything that you see on social media and you can't just run with it as if it's the gospel. We don't know what this woman's true intentions are. Prayerfully, like all she's really trying to do is just get some people to start donating some food to some babies, because this stuff's going viral. Like everybody knows about it. The news is even reporting on it. So hopefully, prayerfully, there's positive results from this. But at the end of the day, this is just a different take on it that I heard, and there's just not very many people having this type of take on it, and a lot of people are getting outraged at the churches when, yes, there's some outrage that needs to happen towards churches that are not willing to give, but at the end of the day, that's up to those churches. Not all Christians are like that. As the guy showed in the stats, most Christians will donate. Most Christians are charitable. That's just the way we are. That's the love of Christ. But I do wonder if this woman has ulterior motives, being from the LGBT crew, not being a Christian, not going to church. I can only imagine that really what she was trying to do was laugh in the face of Christianity. But that's just my take on it. What's yours? That's going to do it for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, God bless.